Hey guys, how's it going? It's Joy. I am back again with another video. I hope that you guys are doing well and staying safe. And this channel is called Live Narc Free, where it is all about getting free and staying free after dealing with narcissistic abuse. I'm so happy that you tuned in to this channel and watched this video. So you guys, I want to talk about something that I actually never really touched on as much. I know that I did mention as far as maybe you have a narcissistic partner and you have to co-parent with a narc, or maybe co-parenting doesn't work, or maybe you have to parallel parent, or you have to some way somehow get a third party entity involved, or like a mediator in the mix. But I actually wanted to talk about what if you're dealing with a narcissistic child or narcissistic children, or what if it hasn't gotten to that point yet? What if it's you just want to make sure that your child doesn't become a narcissist? This is good because there are narcissistic adults and there are narcissistic children, and we know that the children become narcissists. It could be due to the influence of that narc parent, or it could be an influence of another family member, or it could be like people that they're around, whether it's like elementary school or middle school. Like you could have narcissistic children or narcissistic teenagers, or like really like young adults and stuff like that. So you may want to know, like, well, how do I make sure that my child or my preteen young son or daughter doesn't become a narcissist? So first off, you just want to make sure that you're not a narc. You want to make sure that you're the role model. You are behaving and having an attitude in a way where you are exercising healthy relating, healthy dynamics with your family members or your associates or friends or whatever, or other people that are around you. You want to make sure that you are not behaving in a self-centered way, that you are capable of empathy and sympathy for others, that you can take responsibility for your actions, and that you're not manipulative or cunning or deceptive and belittling and putting others down. Because again, children can pick up off of what their parents do. They do it all the time. They may say stuff like how the parents do, or they act how their parents do, all that stuff. Like kids can mimic that, and they watch. They're like sponges, so they just like soak up all that energy. So parents can pick, kids can pick up, if you're sad, if you're happy, if you're down and out, and they may try to cheer you up, or they may, try to take responsibility for the reason why, you're not feeling so good. So you just want to make sure that you're not a narcissist and you're not behaving in a way where, it's unhealthy, it's dysfunctional, where you're passing down generational curses. You want to make sure that you're working on yourself and you're improving yourself, so that way your children won't behave in a narcissistic way and kind of have a personality change. Because that's what happens. Some kids can have personality changes, and that's where the personality disorder comes in. Now, the other aspect is you just want to make sure that you're mindful of who your children are hanging out with, because, when it gets to like when your child goes to elementary school, middle school, high school, your children can get influenced by many different people. Good people, not so good people, normal people, people that have personality disorders, or people that have mental illnesses, or, all types of different personality, mental health concerns and challenges. So, talk to your children about, who their friends are, or their so-called friends, right? Talk to the people that they're hanging out with, who they're eating lunch with, who they're going to, spend time with, and stuff like that. Open up, talk to them, try not to, if you do have a busy schedule, you have a busy routine, schedule, whether it's every day or once a week, every 2 to 3 days, and talk to your children about, what's going on with them, get to know them, love them, accept them, because that's what children want at the end of the day. They just want acceptance. They just want to be loved. And if you're not giving that to them, then they're going to look for that acceptance outside of themselves, or somebody that could take advantage of that vulnerability and use that against them. And once they get traumatized like that, then they have that personality change where they become a narcissist, where they don't trust people, or it could also be like some people, they rebel at a certain age, and they're just like, oh, screw everybody, or forget everybody, people's out to get me and stuff like that, because they have been hurt, or because they may have been betrayed or mistreated, or used or abused in some way. So you just want to be careful and talk to your children about who they're hanging out with, who they're dating. You don't have to be like super duper nosy, but just have a really good relationship with your children. Now, also, the other thing is, if you are seeing signs of like where your child is being maybe like misbehaving, or not taking accountability for their actions, or maybe they're being self-centered, or maybe they're acting out like in a rage at times, or they could have angry outbursts, or maybe they could feel like they're not getting what they want, so they won't take no for an answer. You may have to discipline your children, not saying like physically hit them, but like you got to really like help them to understand that that's not the best response, and you have to talk to them about what a better response can be, and work on them with that. You get me? Now, me personally, I don't have kids as of yet, but I know like once I do, I'm going to be teaching them about narcissistic abuse and other things in the world. But if you have children now, if they're asking questions, or if you just want to say little stuff to them like here and there, don't hesitate to like tell them about, narcissistic abuse or other things like mental health challenges and concerns. If, because some kids, they'll ask you, and if they don't ask, maybe you could just mention it from time to time. Because sometimes, when you're talking to some children, they may have like a short attention span, so they may not take it in. But if they start asking you questions, then definitely tell them the truth. You don't want to lie, So yeah, I hope that is helpful though. And the other thing is too though, and again, I'm not trying to tell anybody what to do. I'm just saying like, if you want to make sure that your child doesn't become a narcissist, make sure that you understand how narcissists are made, because a narcissist is made because of, it could be parent neglect, parent abandonment, parent emotional, like they withdraw, or they're like absent in their lives, or they don't really get to know that particular child. And so, that causes that child to act out and stuff like that. Or if you're like overly like spoiling them and giving them like, I'm not saying like, yeah, support your kids, support your babies, love on them, but you have to teach them like, how to be independent. As I always say, teach them about self-esteem, teach them about codependencies, and teach them about their inner child. And it really depends on how they grew. Like if some people was given everything, then, they could have the mentality like, oh, well, you owe me this. They are like self-centered and like very obnoxious and, what's the word? Like just like very arrogant, So you want to make sure that, you teach your children how to be able to, make a way for themselves in a productive and a constructive way. Like, don't just give them everything. Help them to understand, like, yeah, you have to work for stuff too at the end of the day. But also on the flip side, if you abandon them and you make them feel less than, or like you don't show them attention, or, you may have so much stuff to do where you kind of neglect them. Not saying you're doing it on purpose, but it may happen. Then, that could cause them to be a vulnerable narcissist. And then or again, it could be like maybe it's like middle school or high school and they get their heart broken, and maybe they don't say anything, they keep it to themselves, and they kind of become depressed because they feel like they can't open up to you, or they feel like they can't talk to you because maybe you might judge them, or you might not understand. You may listen, but you're not listening for understanding. You could be listening with judgment. So you want to make sure that you're not judging your children and allow them to be themselves, but also, teach them the importance of self-reliance, and self-discovery, and being able to improve themselves in like self-help, so that way they can always be improving themselves and being productive and progressing in their lives, because when you stay stagnant and stuck, that's where you have the cynicalism and the misery, and, you feel like stagnant and complacent, and that breeds, just toxicity. So, But I hope that this was helpful though. Like, yeah, you have to like to make sure that your child doesn't become a narcissist. You want to make sure that, you know, you understand how a narcissist is made and that you don't do things that can cause your child or your preteen or young adult to become a narcissist. You get me? So anyway, you guys, I hope that that made sense. I would really love to know what was your guys' biggest takeaway. Do any of you guys are you dealing with a narcissistic child? I would love to know. And also, don't hesitate to tell your child, or you know, get your child enrolled into therapy or counseling and stuff like that. You know, and those things of that nature. And be careful too. You know, if that narcissistic child, or maybe they're not a narc child yet, but they have a narc parent, and you guys know that narc parents like to turn their children into mini narcs, right? Like they like to make their children into extensions of themselves. So like I said, you have to be the role model parent. You cannot react to that narc parent, especially like when you're trying to co-parent or you're trying to parallel parent. You got to make sure that, you know, you don't talk bad on that parent and, you know, behave like how that narc parent is acting. You have to show your child or your children, like, no, this is the way you behave, you know. And the children are smart. They're gonna like realize, they're gonna see like, okay, I see which parent was the one for the breakup or for the divorce. You get me? Like, children are gonna know. But if they're spending too much time around that narc parent, then you just want to be careful. And like I said, educate your children on narcissistic abuse, you know, when the time is right. So anyway, I love you guys so much. I hope that this was helpful. I would love to know what was you guys' biggest takeaway. And yeah, make sure that you do like, share, and subscribe. Share this video with someone if you think it can help them and bless them. All right, you guys, until the next time, take care. Bye.